Erasmus of Rotterdam, 1466 to 1536, was a Dutch humanist, theologian, and scholar who profoundly shaped Renaissance education with his belief in learning as a pathway to moral development and societal harmony. His educational philosophy emphasized the importance of classical texts, particularly those of ancient Greece and Rome, alongside Christian teachings. Erasmus believed that education should impart knowledge and cultivate virtue, as he saw moral education as essential to creating responsible and ethical citizens. A key aspect of Erasmus's philosophy was the idea of studia humanitatis, the study of humanities, which included grammar, rhetoric, history, poetry, and moral philosophy. He argued that studying these subjects would develop critical thinking and eloquence, helping individuals express themselves clearly and persuasively. Erasmus also stressed the importance of learning Latin and Greek, as these languages gave direct access to the wisdom of classical authors and early Christian texts, avoiding errors introduced through faulty translations. He sought to revive the classical ideal of education as the development of a well-rounded individual. Erasmus's approach was deeply rooted in moderation and reform. He criticized the rigid scholasticism of medieval universities, which focused on abstract debates and instead promoted practical education with a moral focus. Importantly, he believed that education should be accessible to all, regardless of social class or gender, though he acknowledged the practical limitations of his time. His work laid the groundwork for future educational reformers and influenced later movements, such as the Protestant Reformation and Enlightenment, by promoting the idea that knowledge and virtue are interconnected. While influential and admired for their wisdom, Erasmus's thoughts and approach are not without criticism. For example, his commitment to moderation and dialogue sometimes came across as an unwillingness to make decisive stands, even when moral clarity seemed necessary. His preference for reform over revolution made him seem ineffective in addressing urgent problems. Critics argue that Erasmus's method of intellectual engagement, focusing on scholarly debate and gradual change, did not fully appreciate the desperate need for immediate action in times of severe societal corruption or injustice. In periods where entrenched power structures required radical challenges, his preference for compromise and reasoned discussion may have been perceived as too cautious or even naive. Furthermore, Erasmus's vision was heavily rooted in the context of Christian humanism, emphasizing the reform of the Church and the moral improvement of individuals through education and the study of classical texts. This religious framework might not entirely translate to a modern secular world that values pluralism and often has a more skeptical view of absolute moral or religious truths. While Erasmus valued critical thinking, he still operated within a fundamentally Christian worldview that might not address the complexities of a highly diverse and interconnected modern society. For some contemporary critics, his emphasis on a universal Christian morality could seem restrictive or insufficient in addressing today's wide range of ethical, social, and political concerns. However, there are still significant lessons to be drawn from Erasmus in today's secular world. First, his emphasis on critical thinking and the importance of education remains highly relevant. In an era of polarized debates and echo chambers, his call for reasoned dialogue and engagement with diverse perspectives is a reminder of the value of open-mindedness. Erasmus believed in the necessity of examining one's own beliefs and being aware of the imperfections of all sides in a debate. This lesson encourages us to be intellectually honest and to avoid simplistic thinking, especially in an age where social and political issues are often reduced to binary oppositions. Erasmus's commitment to nonviolence and his hope for a peaceful resolution to conflicts also offer a powerful model for conflict resolution and diplomacy. His life reminds us of the dangers of ideological extremism and the violence that often results from uncompromising positions. In today's world, where conflicts are often exacerbated by rigid partisanship and the dehumanization of the other, Erasmus's vision of moderation, ethical responsibility, and dialogue offers a constructive way forward. He teaches us the importance of striving for mutual understanding and seeking common ground where possible, even when this approach is challenging. Finally, Erasmus inspires modern secular societies to uphold the principles of intellectual humility and skepticism of dogmatism. While he was deeply committed to his Christian faith, his approach was fundamentally about the pursuit of truth and moral improvement, rather than blind allegiance to doctrine. This attitude resonates today as we navigate complex ethical dilemmas and seek to balance competing values. By learning from Erasmus's careful, thoughtful approach, we can better appreciate the importance of intellectual flexibility and the courage it takes to stand apart from polarized viewpoints, especially when simple answers are elusive.